March the 25th, 2024. Call the meeting to order and ask for the roll call, please.
Councilmember Abdelgawad.
Here.
Councilmember Baker.
Present.
Councilmember Barber.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Present.
Councilmember Ingert.
Present.
Councilmember Forster.
Present.
Councilmember Holman.
Present.
Councilmember Townsend.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow.
Present. We have a quorum tonight. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have no presentations or awards this evening or personal appearances on the agenda, so we'll move on to staff reports. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Krass to make a staff report for Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. In addition to my written report, I'm pleased to announce the reconstruction of Ward Road is going to start on April 1st. The first segment will be between Chateau Place and Alexander Creek. We mailed out last week letters to the affected area, giving them a heads up and also directing them to raymore.com/Ward Road to get regular updates. And we did put some advanced warning signs up, so we are looking forward to the project. The first phase is supposed to take till sometime in August.
So you'll start north and work south?
Kind of in the center, because that's where the
okay.
grade changes.
Gotcha.
Is most significant, and where the bridge goes, and the rest of it is mostly just pick up the pavement and put it back down. There's not
Excellent.
any significant grade changes there.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any questions
That
from Mr.
concludes my
Kress?
staff report, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions? Just excited to get that one rolling. Thank you. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Mr. Krass. I would ask Mr. Mustine to make a report for Parks and Recreation.
Thanks, sir. Mayor, members of the council, I've also submitted a written report. We are very busy, and so I'll give a quick rundown here of what's going on in the next few weeks and be available to answer any questions. First of all, this Thursday, we're going to do something new we haven't done, which is a opening day watch party at Centerview. So we're going to have the Royals' first game of the season on the big screens. We're going to have hot dogs and popcorn, and anybody can come and visit. It's free to the public. We just want you to come and say hi and hang out with us. It's my way of not having to work during work day, watch a little baseball, so we call it work.
I like it.
Farmers Market is just around the corner. We're accepting vendors, getting ready to get the Farmers Market going. First Tuesday of June, and right here at Centerview parking lot like we were last year. Baseball, softball signups are currently going on. We have spring break camps in action this week at the RAC. We are taking registrations for summer camp right now as well. And finally, for this particular report, this Saturday is our annual Easter Festival, our Easter event at Recreation Park. We've done it there a couple of years now. Seems to be a hit in the baseball fields. And for this particular year, we are actually going to utilize this opportunity and light up our scoreboards. So the scoreboards will be lit up and showing the age groups and running through during the event, so that while we have a captive audience, well, I wouldn't say they're captive in terms of that, but they're there on the fields. They're going to notice those scoreboards, so we're looking forward to doing that. So we invite you guys out to participate in that. The South Metro Fire Department will be giving out some hot dogs that day, as well as some of our sponsors will be there. So that's our busy next few weeks.
Yeah.
Happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Nathan. Anybody have any questions for Nathan? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mustine. I would ask Ms. Harmer to make a report for the Communications Department.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Since I won't be here before you before this event happens, I wanted to mention the Art Commission's Power of Perspectives art competition, and the event, the awards reception and celebration is Friday, April 19th from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. at Centerview. So we have had quite a few entries. This is the first event of this type that the Arts Commission has put on, so we're really excited. And we have a couple more We have till April 5th to get the rest of the entries in. We have a couple members of our community doing the judging, so we're really looking forward to that event. Please put it on your calendar for April 19th at Centerview. Also wanted to talk about the use tax since we're very close to April 2nd and the municipal elections. Some of the comments I have seen, well, we've had a couple open houses, just a few people showed up. Some of the comments I've seen online say that maybe the city could just find the money for additional personnel by cutting from the rest of the budget. You all approve the budget every year. I think you know that we have a lot going on, and we try to stretch our funds as far as we can to support the people of the city. That's our whole point for being here. So, money in the capital funds is dedicated to capital improvements in the city's infrastructure, like road repair, water and sewer lines, park improvements, and things like that. And we're limited in what we can use for operational costs. So we can't use money from the capital funds to hire in more personnel. Our operating funds budgets, general parks and enterprise funds, are used for personnel and other mandatory costs. And here's a little bit of a breakdown, a very quick and simple breakdown. The mandatory expenses in this budget include our existing personnel, utilities that we pay, insurance that we pay, paying for water, paying for the sewer, and hard software costs. This total is $18,290,650, or $18,290,000. The total operating fund is $21,412,000. That's 85.42% of our operating budget costs that must be paid simply to provide these essential services. The cost above does not include other mandatory costs, such as fuel for our vehicles, legal costs, fleet costs, salt for the roads when we have a snow event, mandatory professional development costs, such as our post certifications for our police officers, tools and equipment purchases like snowplow pumps, blades, hand tools, and other materials like this for paint striping, and more than that. So we really cannot strip more than $1 million from our budget and unnecessary funds, or unnecessary costs, I'm sorry, to get these positions available. So I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that, at least in this room, and anyone listening, that it's very important that our residents consider what we are asking them to consider on April 2nd with question P and the use tax. That's all I have for you this evening.
Thank you, Melissa. Anyone have any questions? I will make a comment. I have been to Hawk Ridge Park a lot lately looking for the golden goose, and I haven't found it yet. So I'll keep looking, see if we can come up with something. But,
Sir, if I could dovetail off of that comment for just a moment.
yes, sir.
Going back to my past life in a school district, and the teachers here might remember this, school districts have something each year that's called maintenance of effort. And specifically what it calls for is the fact that a certain percentage of the budget can and should go to the personnel that are providing the teaching service to the children of the district and the families of the district. Don't know if this is still in place, but it was when I got out of school district business 2 decades ago now. You had to maintain that percentage from one year to another because it was recognized school districts are a service organization. We are as much, and in some cases more, of a service organization across the broader spectrum than a school district is. We have to do maintenance of effort for our people, and those costs have to go into that. We have to be paying our people to do, our existing people to do the job that they are doing. That's what led to this particular type of research, because then it broadens out from there. We have to provide a lot more varied services than a school district does. School district is there to teach, incredibly important. We have to clear roads. We got to have plows to do that. We have to have working equipment to do that. We have to buy the water that our people use. We have to pay for the sewer that our people use. We can't get around those costs. Those costs amount to more than 85%, and those are just to open the doors. The rest of the items that Ms. Harmer listed here tonight are still essential. our police officers have to be post-certified. We have to pay for that. We have to pay for hydraulic fluid for vehicles. We got to pay for fuel to get the vehicles out there. We have to have vehicles to get out there. My soft estimate of that amount actually pushes that 85.42% to well over 90% of costs that we can't get around to provide the services that we have. There simply aren't costs out there to shed to put into the costs that would be associated with doing 58 highway every year, with paying for new police officers, for paying for new parks people, and for paying for new public works people. We need the use tax to do that. And that's all informational. It's out there within the existing budget, and we have explained exactly, almost to the penny, what we are going to do with the use tax and nothing more. Thank you for indulging me, sir.
Good, thank you, sir. Anybody else have anything? Do we have another report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask the city clerk to make a report.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Each year, the city adopts an ordinance establishing procedures to disclose potential conflicts of interest. This ordinance calls for Jim Fuhrborn as the Chief Administrative Officer and Kim Quaddy as the Chief Purchasing Officer to file a financial disclosure statement annually before May 1. Both statements have been filed with the Missouri Ethics Commission and are on file and available for inspection in my office. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Mr. Fuhrborn, anything else?
Thank you very much. Just remind the council, we do have a work session next week. We're going to be talking about the challenges of the city curb program. And we're going to be giving the council some detail that is associated with those challenges. That concludes staff reports tonight, sir.
I did have a question. So I know that we, Melissa, and you might be able to answer this. We have a business community open house scheduled for, can you tell us again when that is, to talk about the use tax so that they themselves can become educated?
Sure. That is this Wednesday right here in council chambers from 3 to 5 p.m.
Okay.
And if anyone missed the other open houses,
It's
anyone's
actually open to
welcome.
the public,
It's
but
open to the public as well.
we've sent out a special invitation to the businesses of our community as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else from anybody? Any questions of staff? If not, we'll move on here. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. We only have the one item on there, the March 11th minutes. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Holman,
I move that we approve the city council meeting minutes for March 11th, 2024.
thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I can second it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barber. Motion been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor of the motion. Motion carries unanimously. Any abstentions? One abstention? Okay. 7 yes, 1 abstention. Motion carries. We'll now move on to unfinished business. Could I please have the second reading of Bill? Oh, we don't have any unfinished business. So skipped right over that line. All right, excuse me. We're moving on to new business. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3881 by title only? Better get my glasses on here.
The first reading of Bill 3881 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri with Mega KC Corporation for the Centerview Detention Landscaping Project, City Project Number 23-372-203, in the amount of $396,979, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Musteen to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, members of the council. Bill 3881 is a 2020 GEO bond project. I know that's been a few years ago, but this is one of those projects that time took to get to this point. For a reference of what we're doing, if you, behind Centerview where we put the boardwalk, which was kind of on a step one of this project, the detention ponds are back there. This particular project redesigns those detention bowls, improves stormwater. It makes a more beautiful landscape for behind Centerview, and it's overall just a redesign and a replanting of that project. We're going to utilize for the most part, a lot of rock formations, large boulders, different sizes of rock, and then we're going to use some adaptive plants and landscaping that should provide some color throughout the year, but overall, it's a stormwater project that should provide a pretty landscape for behind Centerview. We did bid this out last fall. We have been working through the few months of winter with Mega KC just to revamp the design, the plants, the right timing of the project and everything. And so this particular project has a little bit longer as we're going to carry it through November so that we can get a spring and a fall planting and make sure it comes with a guaranteed 2-year warranty and an optional 3-year warranty if needed. And I'm happy to answer any questions on this project, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Nathan. I got a question. So the initial construction of the detention basin that exists now, did that take care of the downstream flooding issues that we were getting complaints on? Or will this even assist it further in eliminating that?
This particular project will slow that down significantly, which is one of the reasons why we're doing that.
Okay.
So we should, I would say that we're probably going to see a significant decrease in those issues, but I would have to defer to Mr. Krass on that. And I don't know that we would know a whole lot about what the outcome is until we've seen a significant rainstorm doing that. But
Mike, can you speak to that at all, about the intention of this particular project?
Yeah, once the plantings are in and mature, we will see a reduction in flooding, or what people perceive as flooding, for the smaller events.
Yeah.
The detention basins are designed to hold the very large what we refer to as the 1% storm. Prior to redoing this project, because the piping was designed to handle the 1% storm, a lot of the other storms were just passing through and creating issues. We've now modified the outlets to detain those storms and let it out at a pre-development or slower rate.
Okay, because I know there were some people that have yards along the way of that down to Silver Lake that were concerned about the flow there. But this should help
It will
retain
address.
it and regulate it better as it goes downstream.
Yes, sir.
Right, okay. All right, anybody else have anything for Mr. Mustine on this item? Okay, thank you, sir. No further discussion. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Delgado.
I move that we approve Bill 3881, award of contract for Centerview Detention Landscaping.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3881. Any further discussion? Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to mention the list of references was huge and kind of interesting to look at, including one of our roundabouts over 10 years ago, and had Mr. Krass as a reference.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3883 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3883 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with McConnell and Associates for the Hawk Ridge Park Basketball Court and Recreation Park Pickleball Court Project, City Project Number 24-443-201 and 202, in the amount of $286,151.51, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Mustine to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you again, Mayor, members of the council. I did forget on my last report, we have a representative with Mega KC. I wanted to make sure I made note of that in the audience tonight. And we also have, for this particular bill, 3883, a representative from McConnell and Associates. So they're great partners with us, and looking forward to working with them. This particular bill is a contract to build a full court basketball court at Hawk Ridge Park on the upper west side where the athletic fields are. There's a large flat area right next to the new parking lot we built. Full court basketball court is scheduled to go in there. The exact dimensions as Recreation Park. This particular one does not have lights, as we already have some residential areas around there, but we want the court built first. The second part of this contract is a pickleball, three-court pickleball court that will go where the old skate park was at Recreation Park, right across the street from the Public Works Department. That was a great fit, as we already have infrastructure there with water, trail access, parking. The slab is already poured, so we're going to put 3 pickleball courts there. This particular project will include lights so that we can play extended into the evenings when weather is nice. And so both of these projects were bid out. We had 3 bids returned. McConnell and Associates was the lowest and most responsive, and we're excited to get this project going. So happy to answer any questions about both sites, and that concludes my staff report.
Thank you, Nathan. Anyone have any questions? Mr. Townsend?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Exciting project. Appreciate you bringing it forward. I did notice in the staff report on the financial impacts, it showed that it was slightly over budget, but I do see comments regarding grants that we're applying for. So the grants is what's going to offset to get us within budget?
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
I did not, a $2,000 budget amendment was what was anticipated on this. That seemed a little lean to be bringing to the council at this time, when that would normally be one of the cleanup budget amendments, if necessary, if the grant did not come through.
Perfect. Part of the normal process we do. Excellent.
Exactly. It's actually sitting in the city manager's review folder, that particular bill, and I had it removed from this particular agenda for that reason.
Good. Just wanted to address it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Thank you, Nathan. If there are no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Abdel-Gawad?
I move that we approve Bill 3883, award of contract for the outdoor pickleball and basketball courts.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3883. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3886 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3886 by title only, an ordinance approving a sales tax contribution agreement between Chick-fil-A, Inc. and the City of Raymore, Missouri.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Ms. Lee to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Chick-fil-A is here tonight to request financial assistance in the form of a sales tax contribution agreement to make the construction of a new restaurant financially feasible. This incentive tool is available due to the finding of blight on the property. A formal blight study was accepted by the City Council on November 27th, 2023. The restaurant will be located near the corner of 58 Highway and Kentucky Road. Here in attendance tonight, in addition to city staff, is Miss Sarah Granath with Gilmore & Bell, the city's Economic Development Council. She will be making a presentation this evening on behalf of the city relative to this request. The applicant is here to make comments on the project as well. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the blight finding that you all approved and made the blight finding back in November allows the city with its charter powers to enter into different agreements and to give funds to help remediate the blight that was found at the site. So that is being done here through a sales tax contribution agreement. And under this agreement, sales taxes that are generated at the location will go back to reimburse Chick-fil-A for expenditures that are used to help remediate the blight. So a portion of the city's sales taxes, like I said, generated at the site, will be used over the next 10 years to help reimburse up to a maximum amount of $750,000. So it's whichever happens first. Either $750,000 is met, or it is the maximum of 10 years of reimbursements. The portion of each of city sales taxes that will go towards reimbursement are listed on Exhibit C. You'll see that that steps down over the years. So it's 100% in year one after the first opening date of Chick-fil-A, down to about 55% in year 5, and then years 6 through 10 are at 50% reimbursement. And the sales taxes must be used for eligible costs. So transportation sales tax, for example, would still have to be put towards transportation-related costs that are incurred. So you will see a little bit, especially in future years, when maybe the costs don't fit into a transportation line item or a park or stormwater line item, the percentage of the city's sales tax might be larger out of the general or capital improvement sales tax, but the overall percentage of sales taxes generated at that site will not go over the amounts listed on the Exhibit C. In no instance will it exceed $750,000. These sales taxes will be paid annually on the disbursement date is what it's called, and it's an annual date following the opening date of Chick-fil-A. And then the city gets an administration fee for calculating and administering this reimbursement agreement that will also happen annually. The total project costs are estimated to be $4,335,000. The breakdown of that is shown in Exhibit B to the agreement. And as Ms. Lee mentioned, Chick-fil-A representatives are here to answer any specific questions on the project, but if there's any financing or agreement contributions, I'm happy to address those.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Mr. Holman?
I have one, it may be more apropos from Mr. Feuerborn. I'm assuming with this type of agreement and disbursement on a yearly basis, we'll put this in some type of restricted revenue fund for disbursement?
Yes, sir. I wouldn't define it as a restricted revenue fund. Ms. Williams could better tell you the title of that particular type of escrow, if you will, that's being set aside. But yes, and then it's distributed annually, and of course, because she's doing the distribution, there is negotiated into there an administrative fee for the cost of doing the administration. Normally, that administrative fee is in there because we're distributing to the other taxing entities. Obviously, this is a very favorable incentive on our part. It is just the city's sales tax, and it is only for 10 years, and it's an accelerated schedule. So all of the other political subdivisions will still be realizing their sales tax with this particular item.
Thank you, sir. Escrow was the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Anyone else further presenting on this particular item?
Not unless there's questions from the council, sir.
All right, well, come on up. Chick-fil-A, they got up. I figured it might as well come up and talk to us.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. My name is Hilliard Bentley. I am a tax counsel at Chick-fil-A, and I'd just like to take a moment to thank Jordan and David and their team because, as you may be aware, this has been a long time coming.
Yes, it has.
And so we, their help with, getting this to, or bringing this to the table has been essential. I recently joined Chick-fil-A in November, so I just wanted to take a moment to thank them for that. I think you guys have a copy of the PowerPoint that
Yes, we do.
depicts what we believe the actual store will look like once it's built. I just wanted to note that we're projecting a July 29th construction start date, and we're also projecting the store to be open around January 9th of 2025. Of course, that can change, but that is what we're projecting at this time. If you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer those.
Well, if we're going to do a groundbreaking ceremony of any kind, my birthday is July 28th, so we could do it then if you're starting work the next day.
Can't make any promises, but
Okay.
we'll see.
That'd be a great birthday present, let me tell you. We're excited about Chick-fil-A coming here. I know a lot of folks in the county are as well. Your name has come up in conversation, I think, probably over the last 8 years since I've been mayor. So we're excited that we finally got to this point, and then we've been able to work it out for the community's benefit. So thank you very much for hanging with us as well and your tenacity and ensuring that you had a location here in our community. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise, we appreciate your help with all of this.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Given that we've talked about this issue on many occasions, we've received now the benefits that they will receive from any kind of contribution agreement, which are minimal, I think, and from other business perspectives. I would entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Holman.
Sir, as this restaurant's going to be located in Ward 3, I move at this time that we approve Bill 3886, which is the Chick-fil-A sales tax contribution agreement.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Mayor, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3886. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Thank you. And Jordan, thank you for standing in at the Chamber Board meeting for me the other day. Appreciate you. We'll now move on to Bill 3880. Could I please have the first reading by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3880 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Triangle 2 LLC and Triangle 4 LLC for reimbursement of certain design and construction improvements extending 163rd Street and declaring this bill as an emergency.
Thank you, ma'am. And Mr. Fearborn, it's my understanding that these next three items will be, football's going to be thrown over to Mr. Zur, so
That is correct.
just let me call on him for the
Absolutely.
staff report. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mayor, members of the council. What you have presented to you this evening with Bill 3880 is a proposed reimbursement agreement that would enter into between the city and Dan Carr, the developer of the Parkside subdivision, through his development entities Triangle 2 LLC and Triangle 4 LLC. The reimbursement agreement contemplates reimbursement of 50% of the overall design costs and construction for both the extension of 163rd Street from the current proposed boundary line of the subdivision to North Madison. It also contemplates the design and construction costs of extending a 16-inch water main along 163rd Street to help serve the subdivision as well as the properties further beyond. It is being presented to you this evening as an emergency read. I would note for you the prospect here is for payment to come from the excise tax fund for reimbursement of the road improvements and the water main to be paid for the available fund balance within the water connection fee fund. Grand total of estimated costs, including professional fees that this reimbursement agreement will contemplate, is $1,310,113, of which 50% would be the city's obligation. The way the agreement would end up working out would be payment of the full balance to Mr. Carr. Upon submission of his final development plat and application, he would also be required to then pay back to the city their 1/2 share. That's the background of the agreement. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have regarding that, and otherwise it is set for an emergency read.
And if I could dovetail off of that particular report, the council will remember when we presented this particular item to you all, the point of it was to take advantage of Mr. Carr's willingness to work with the city to get the very vital east-west transportation route of 163rd Street pushed all the way through to Madison, so that we finally have that particular project done in the nearer term, because it could be a decade and a half until that would actually happen if we wait and do it phase by phase. And the other very exciting component of this is, with the construction of this road, we will be bidding out in total now, because as part of this, he is giving us the land for the dog park at the northwest corner of Madison Street and 163rd Street, which will be one of the largest dog parks in the region. So right behind this presentation to you all, we are going to be putting out an RFP for that dog park. Mr. Carr has indicated that because this is an emergency read, we could anticipate the dirt turning on the rest of 163rd Street as early as next week. And that would mean that it would be punched through far enough for us to complete the dog park with any luck by the end of this year. That concludes staff reports on this item, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir. Any questions of staff or Mr. Zur on this item? There are no additional questions. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3880.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Delgado.
I move that we approve Bill 3880, 163rd Street Design and Construction Reimbursement Agreement.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion has been made and second to approve the first reading of Bill 3880. Any further discussion? Mr. Barber.
Yeah, just a comment. It's kind of brings back memories when I first got on the council in 2015. One of the first meetings I had was a group from Creekmore that wanted 163rd Street extended. They want another way to get in and out of Creekmore. Now, they want to go to Kentucky. That's where they wanted to go. But they really, what they wanted was more avenues to get in and out. And I can remember them then going, well, I'm just one person. I'm new on the council. I can't, I mean, that's millions of dollars. Now, here it is where it's coming to fruition. We've got, this will be the second connection to Madison in Creekmore. So just be patient, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything? If there are no further questions, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0.
Sir, I do not believe we had a motion.
Oh, we didn't have a motion? I thought I had a motion in a second.
We did?
See what you flapping your jaws did? You got us all confused there. That's funny. All right. All those in favor of the motion? Did we already raise our hands? All right. We're unanimous on that. Now we're getting to the second read here. We have to do the second read.
Didn't have anybody written down under the number 2.
As this has been deemed an emergency ordinance in order to get this project going, as Mr. Barber wants. This is an emergency. I would entertain a motion to dispose of the, you just got to do a second reading in its entirety. Sorry, I was trying to save you a little breath there, but go right ahead.
The second reading of Bill 3880 in its entirety, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Triangle 2 LLC and Triangle 4 LLC for reimbursement of certain design and construction improvements extending 163rd Street and declaring this bill as an emergency. Whereas Triangle 2 LLC and Triangle 4 LLC, the developer, have received preliminary plat approval for the Parkside subdivision, a 160-acre master planned residential development generally located south of 163rd Street between North Fox Ridge and North Madison Street, all within the corporate limits of the City of Raymore, the city. And whereas the development of the subdivision will coincide with the plans and goals of the city to complete certain improvements along 163rd Street, including the extension of 163rd Street road extension, the extension of a 16-inch water main water extension. Whereas to expedite the construction and installation of the improvements, the city has deemed it fair and appropriate that the city reimburse the developer for 50% of the costs associated with the design and construction of the road extension and the water extension. And whereas the terms of the reimbursement between the city and the developer have been memorialized in a 163rd Street extension design and construction reimbursement agreement attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit A. And whereas on February 27, 2023, the City Council, pursuant to Ordinance 2023-023, authorized the city manager to enter into a proposed agreement for reimbursement of expenses incurred by the developer for completion of some or a portion of the improvement, which such agreement has not been executed or acted upon by either party. And whereas the parties intend to revoke and repeal the prior legislative action and for any legal obligations of the parties which may or could be inferred by such action to be declared null and void. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Raymore, Missouri as follows. Section 1, authorization for execution of agreements and documents. The city manager is authorized and instructed to execute the 163rd Street Extension Design and Construction Reimbursement Agreement with the developer to expedite the completion of the improvements. Section 2, authorization for reimbursements. The city manager is authorized and instructed to arrange for reimbursement of the agreed upon portions of the design and construction costs incurred by developer as follows. A, for completion of the road extension from the excise tax fund. B, for completion of the water extension from the water connection fee fund. Section 3, effective date. The effective date of approval of this ordinance shall be coincidental with the mayor's signature and attestation by the city clerk. Section 4, severability. If any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdictions, such portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions thereof. Section 5, repeal and revocation of prior legislative action. The legislative action taken by the City Council pursuant to Bill 3788 on February 27, 2023 is hereby revoked and repealed so that neither party to the proposed prior reimbursement agreement shall bear any legal obligation, and such action shall be declared null and void. Section 6, emergency reading. The mayor has authorized this as an emergency. Duly read the first time this 25th day of March 2024. Be it remembered that the above ordinance was approved and adopted this 25th day of March 2024 by the following vote.
Thank you, ma'am. So, any further questions of staff before we move on from this? No? If there's nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the second reading of Bill 3880.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Delk, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3880. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously 8-0. Thank you. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3888 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3888 by title only, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Raymore appointing William N. Marshall III as the city prosecutor for the City of Raymore, Missouri, and authorizing the execution of a contract for services.
Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Zur, and any? All right, Mr. Zur, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mayor, members of the council. What you have before you this evening with Bill 3888 is an award for a contract for city prosecutor. Section 310, 3.10, subparagraph B of the Raymore City Charter provides that the city shall have one or more prosecuting attorneys appointed by the mayor with the advice and consent of 6 out of 8 members of the entire council. The prosecutor serves a one-year term. Previously, the city council had requested that the city staff place the city prosecutor position in a request for qualifications. That has been previously issued. There was Mr. Marshall, who is currently serving as the city prosecutor, was the only applicant and candidate to submit his proposed qualification. Following the submission date for the request for qualifications, the mayor and City Council instructed the city manager to negotiate with Mr. Marshall for the extension of his contract under certain provisions. Included in that was a revision so that after 6 months, the city prosecutor would have an opportunity to meet with the city manager and potentially thereafter have a review conference with the city council. Following that conversation and instruction from the council, Mr. Fearborn met with Mr. Marshall, and during the course of that negotiation, a new contract was negotiated, which allowed for a flat monthly bill of $2,250 from Mr. Marshall for court appearances and an hourly rate of $250 for any appeals to the Western District Court of Appeals and an hourly rate of $150 per hour for all jury trials that would be at the Circuit Court of Cass County. The revisions have been provided to the contract for Mr. Marshall and are reflected in the materials that you've been provided. It does provide for a one-year term. I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, that would conclude staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Zur. Any questions of Mr. Zur on this item? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of Bill 3888.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad?
I move that we approve Bill 3888, award of contract to the city prosecutor for 1 year.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3888. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. And the last item under new business, could I please have the first reading of Bill 3887 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3887 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into an employment agreement with Jim Fearborn for the services of a city manager, authorizing approval of this ordinance and execution of the contract herein for the orderly administration of the legal, administrative, and contractual matters of the city.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Zur, do you have a staff report?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Bill number 3887 provides to you an amended and restated employment agreement with Mr. Jim Fearborn to serve as city manager. Following recent review and opportunities for the council and mayor to confer with Mr. Fearborn regarding the continuation of his employment, we have had the opportunity to make alterations to the contract based upon the recommendations from the council, which includes an increase in base salary by 7%. Also increases or alters the dates to make them reflect the upcoming year-end term. Term of the contract has been extended to September 1st, 2024. Those are the only critical changes that have occurred to the contract. I'm happy to answer any questions you all might have, and that would conclude my staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Zur. Any questions of Mr. Zur on this particular item? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3887.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad?
I move that we approve Bill 3887, approval of amended and restated employment agreement for our city manager, Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3887. Any further discussion? Ms. Abdel-Gawad.
Just a quick comment. I know everyone up here agrees, but just to make it clear for the city, we are very, very fortunate to have Mr. Fearborn working for us, and grateful for all of his work.
Thank you, ma'am. I would echo that. He's been a great partner for me in this landfill fight, that's for sure. The team that he assembled has been an effective team that we have, all hours of the day and night. Mr. Fearborn, you've made yourself available for even the silliest of questions that I've had, and I appreciate that. My memory is short, so I always have to ask it while I'm thinking about it, and you accommodate that. I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate the council's intellect on this particular item, because I too believe that we have the best city manager in the area, if not the state, and you have proven that on occasion after occasion after occasion when we are presented with emergent issues that the city has to deal with. So I'm pleased that the council has chosen to provide you with this incentivization, not only to keep you here, but to let you know how important you are to us. And with that, is there anything else anyone would like to say? Okay. Do we have a motion on the floor yet? We do have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. I did it to myself, Kevin. So now we move on to public comments. If there's anybody from the public, it looks like they've all left the building, would like to address the council. I don't think we have anyone here tonight, so we'll move on to the mayor-council communication. And I'll start with Ms. Forster this evening.
Thank you. I just want to comment that the Parks has a lot going on. Not only all the activities, but also the repairs that are being done, and then now amenities that are being added. So everyone that's out there, when they're enjoying those activities, if they could be respectful as well and try to help the Parks Department out and clean up after yourself, that would be great.
It
But
would be.
otherwise, kudos to you guys there working hard.
All right, thank you. Mr. Burke?
Thank you. I just wanted to say that the city staff has done an amazing amount of work. If you look at March's agendas, this meeting and then 2 weeks ago, a tremendous amount of things were accomplished. Tremendous amount of things that will be very noticed by our public. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Holman?
Yes, sir. I have a statement to the members of this body, yourself, to Mr. Fearborn and city staff, and to the residents of the city of Raymore. Today, ladies and gentlemen, was a good day. In less than 1 hour, over the next 15 months, think about that, slightly over a year, we will have some fantastic new landscaping around our walking trail behind Centerview because of the actions of staff and this body, as well as the citizens of Raymore. We will have new outdoor pickleball and basketball courts at 2 of our parks. We will have a new Chick-fil-A restaurant here in town in about 15 months, serving to our residents and guests alike. We will be entering, or are entering, into an agreement with a developer to advance the construction of 163rd Street and improve our transportation network throughout Creekmore and the rest of the city, in addition to building one of the nicest dog parks in the entire area. And the cherry on top was we secured for another year the services of the finest city manager anyone could find. It's pretty good work for 1 hour of service, sir. That's all I have.
Kevin, I'm sorry. I know, but you're next.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to say. Thanks for doing that. What else can I say? No, in all seriousness, I do want to thank Mr. Fairborn for his continued service to the city. People don't realize, how much time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears he puts in for this city. He's a leader. He's a manager. He's a friend and a teacher, and he encompasses a whole lot. And we are so fortunate to have him, and appreciate his continual service for the city, and I thank you, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Abdel, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Just real quick, it's so easy as someone who lives in the city to take for granted all of the amenities that we have, all of the basic needs that are met by our city. And with the talk about the use tax at the beginning of the meeting and our appreciation for Mr. Fearborn and the list that Jay shared of all of the things that we accomplished or kind of checked off that list just tonight, I just want to encourage everybody to think for a minute about the things that you just sit at home or drive down the street and take for granted. That water that comes in, the water that goes out, the streets we can drive on, the streets that are cleared when there's snow, the beautiful parks, the safety, all of those things that we have here in Raymore that people are working hard every day to provide for us. And we do have the best staff around, starting with our leader, Mr. Fearborn, and all the way to the people that are literally working on the streets every day. So just encouraging all of us and everyone out there to take a minute and think about all of the things provided by the city and be grateful that we have those things here in Raymore. Thank you.
Amen. Mr. Ingert.
I'm going to echo what everybody else has been saying tonight. I was making some notes as we went along, and yay for Ward Road finally. I'm really excited about that. Yay for the Easter egg hunt that we have at the park, and all the kids get to enjoy that. Fantastic. The Arts Commission that's going to be putting up the art, that's phenomenal that our citizens have the opportunity to come partake in those kind of things. The dog park. I was talking to my daughter, who is a big dog fan, and she lives up in Minnesota, and it's like, well, why didn't you put that in there when I was living down there? So she's pretty excited about that as well. Yay to 163rd Street Extension. It's going to make it so much easier to get around in town and hopefully relieve some of the traffic out here on 50th Street as well. A big yay to Chick-fil-A. I can't wait. I'm not a big honey mustard fan, but I sure like their chicken tenders. Okay. And then finally, the biggest yay that I can think of is for Mr. Fearborn. Thank you very, very much, sir, for all that you do for the city and for us here on the city council. Much appreciated.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Baker.
Thank you. I want to echo the sentiments of my fellow counterparts up here. All the activity we have going on in Raymore, as presented by this meeting tonight, just shows that we are a city going in the right direction with positive results. The Chick-fil-A addition, a lot of people have talked about that. That is something that will be unique to the south part of the metro, to where we can bring people in from all other cities into our city and showcase our city. And I think that is one of the biggest wins of getting something out here like a Chick-fil-A that frankly, you have to drive quite a few miles to get to in other parts of the metro. So excellent job securing that with our business and development department with that. Mr. Fearborn, we were able to hear the presentation of what he has commanded in the last year and for his salary review, and he earns every penny of it. Since I've been aboard in the first year, he's always available to talk to us, to answer questions for us, to lead us from the dais and our activities as council people. So I just want to say thank you for the effort you put in. We've been, actually, Reggie and I were, a letter that he had sent to a resident standing up for his staff in a weather situation. And that letter was very pointed in how he stands up for people in his city, in his department. So we are very fortunate to have Mr. Fearborn. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
It's all right. We're attaching to him. So
yes,
okay.
we are. I appreciate
Seems like it.
Councilmember Don for bringing up the email that Mr. Fearborn sent out to the particular resident who was calling or concerned about our employees who had come into the office on the inclement weather day. And they were here because City Hall was open, and we try to allow the facilities to be open for those who need to come here to do some business or call in for business. And I had intended on reading that email because it was very pointed, it was very heartfelt, and tonight's the council's approval and continuation of Mr. Feuerborn and the incentive that we gave him is indicative of that. And I would like to add to Mr. Feuerborn, to the comments that we said tonight, that extends to the staff. Your administrative skill and the way that you administer the facilities in the city as the chief executive officer of the city, you've assembled a very quality team. The team behind you, as any leader, as the mayor and many of us who are in leadership roles understands, you can't do it all. You can't plow. You can't get out and make sure our parks lawn is mowed, make sure the facilities are up to par, make sure infrastructure is there. You have instilled in your team, the expectations that the citizens need or want. And the team has stepped up, as Mr. Holman has illustrated so eloquently tonight, the things that we have approved for the next 15 months, the things that we went over at the last work session, how the city has grown in the past 10 years, and the things we've been able to do has been at the skill and the tutelage and the education and the acumen of the staff who have stepped up to make that happen. And it makes what we do look easy. Here we are 40 minutes, 50 minutes into the hour, and we've done the business of the city. We're going to executive session, do some more things, but to the outside world, it's like, what are you doing? How are you able to do all this in under an hour? And it's because of the work that staff has put in. It's the after-hours things that staff does and yourself, the laborious things that you do to make sure that the city is the beacon that it is. I've taken several phone calls from different developers saying, the reason why I want to spend millions of dollars in the city is because I would receive it back. The cash flows is there, the median income is there, the excitement for the city is there, so I know I would do well as a business owner in the city. And it shows, and I appreciate what you do, I appreciate what staff does, and we're asking the community come Tuesday on the 2nd of April to also appreciate staff and show your support as you make your vote on that day for the use tax. Thank you.
Well said, sir, and a great segue from myself, actually, because I was going to talk a little bit about that. For those of you that missed the work session last Monday night, it was about the use tax, and there were facts and figures that were provided to us by staff and Mr. Feuerborn that really point out the need for a use tax. The attacks on our revenue sources continue. There's already been some chipping away at that. One of those that I might add. Somebody said on social media yesterday that that we had just received a tremendous increase in personal property tax. So I'm pretty sure they meant actual real property tax. But even in that case, as the city continues to value upward, our body that you're seeing tonight doing the business of the city has chosen and has adjusted the levy downward nearly 8% since 2018. So while those real property taxes or assessments, real property values have increased, this board has chosen to ensure that people still enjoy their real property and can afford their real property tax by adjusting the levy in order to ensure that there's not an egregious amount that is assessed on the backs of the property owners. So I applaud the body here tonight again for their wisdom in doing that and ensuring they're really taking attention or making attention to the incomes of the revenues of the city. So people seem to think that there's this tremendous revenue source that was mentioned earlier that we can just draw down on. Again, there have been attacks on those revenue sources. Excise tax has gone down 74% on our right-of-way taxing, our excise tax for cable TVs and land telephone cables, those types of things. That's dropped significantly. And between 2013 and 2023, that was over a $2 million effect. Just that single change in the law alone caused that kind of revenue reduction. The county just authorized the collector to begin taking applications from seniors over 62 to apply for a freeze in their property value assessments from the age of 62 on. Now, they're waiting until the state clears that law up a little bit. That law is a little flawed. They're not really sure what it says as regards to the actual age or when it applies back to, but I can tell you it is their intention that if the law is fixed so that it is much more meaningful for the county to adopt it, that they will adopt it at the age of 62, and they will lock in your property values of 2025. And that, my friends, the first year, it doesn't seem significant. It's about $110,000 reduction for the city of Raymore, but then by the 10th year, it goes up to $1.9 million at a 17% per year increase as we freeze those revenues that come from real estate taxes. And there was one comment that, well, if you look at the census, there's only 18% in our census that are over age 62. It actually is age 65. But they don't realize that they own 35% of the single-family real estate in this city. That's a fact. And so that means you're going to put a freeze on any increases in taxes for real estate tax on a third of the homes in our city. And that will be something that we have to work around in the future. Where that takes us, I don't know, but it is going to have to be a workaround. And then, of course, there are things that are proposed that are beginning to gain momentum, and that's the sales tax, food sales tax, eliminating food sales tax, which actually makes up 31% of our overall sales tax, which generates almost $10 million. That's $3.1 million less if that is adopted in the state of Missouri. And then personal property tax, which I referred to earlier, generates about $400,000 a year, and they're trying to eliminate that on a sliding scale. They haven't quite come up with the formula for that. There are about 4 different bills that they're trying to get across the finish line. So there are those attacks that are occurring to the revenue source, and these are all imposed upon us by the state of Missouri, some of which I agree with, but we have to balance out what kind of services we're providing to our community and having the revenue that Mr. Feuerborn eloquently talked about earlier in this meeting that we have to hold on to, that we have to make sure that we have in place to provide the services that we've come to know, love, and expect here in the city. So it's not a money grab. Some people have termed it a money grab. It's not a money grab. It's a lifeline that we're trying to hold on to make sure that we can provide the services in the future. If we don't do it now, then we get behind and we're constantly trying to catch up, and that is no way to operate. I did that when I ran the Raytown Police Department years ago, and all we did was slip backwards. I went from 60 officers there. They now have 38 officers on duty there now. It is not a situation we want to get ourselves into because that hole gets real deep real fast. Anyway, I just wanted to offer that up this evening, and I do encourage you, if you did not make an open house that we did provide, we do have an open house Wednesday night, as was mentioned earlier, from 3 to 5 p.m. I guess it's afternoon. And I would encourage anyone that has any questions at all about the use tax to come right here to this chamber Wednesday between 3 and 5 p.m. and we will try to answer your questions for you, okay? And with that, I do know that we have to move into executive session, so I would entertain that motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Delgado.
I move that we enter into executive session to discuss litigation matters.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion been made and seconded to move into executive session. Could I have the roll call?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
We will now move into executive session, and upon adjournment from executive session, come back to open session to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.